Learning Zili Nishmas Ahuva Bas Yaakov. Shevuos Perik Dalet Mishna Gimel. Shevuos Eidus Ketzah. What is the case of Shevuos Eidus? So Mishnah says two cases. Either Amar L'Shnayim Bo Heiduni. Someone goes over to two Eidim and says, "Come say Eidus to me," and they say Shvuah She'ein Yoidun L'cha Eidus. They make a Shvuah right there. They use a lashon Shvuah that we don't know Eidus for you. So that's case number one. Oy She'amru Loi Ein Yoidun L'cha Eidus. They said without a lashon Shvuah. The Eidim just say, we don't know Eidus, without a lashon Shvuah. And then he says, Mashbi ani aleichem, will you swear? Amru amein, they say amein. So then that amein is a Shvuah. So then harei elu chayavin, they're going to be chayiv Shvuas ha'edus. Rashi explains that dafka because they said amein. But if they were just quiet after the Shvuah, then that's not considered a Kabbalah's Shvuah. So Taisus discusses, is this Mishnah going like Rameir in the prior Mishnah that says that it's chayiv even outside Bezin, or are we going like the Rabbanan that held that it has to be dafka in a Bezin? So Taisa says it seems from the fact that we're saying a case of Amru Amein, which we've learned in the prior parak, that that's considered a Shvuah mipi atzmai. We learned that in the last Mishnah in Parak Gimel, that by saying V'Amar Amein it's considered mushma mipi atzmai. So it's mashma that we had to say amein in order to be mushma mipi atzmai because we wanted to say why it works even outside like Bezin. So that would seem to be like our mayor. But then Tais says a different pshat that could be just said Amru Amein to be mekatzer, but hu adin if he would say without saying amein, if he would just say if it would be mushma mipi acherim also. You would be chayiv just by saying Ein Onu Yodim because you don't need the actual Shvuah to be in Bezdin. It's good enough for the Kfira to be in Bezdin. As the Mishnah continues, Hishbiya Alei and Chamisha Pa'amim Chutz LeBezdin. If they said we don't know Eidus, Lashon Shvuah, 5 times outside Bezdin, Ubal LeBezdin V'Haidu, and they came to Bezdin and they admitted that they do know Eidus. So then Peturin, so they're not going to be chayiv a Shvuas Ha'edus. Only if they were kafru, if they were kaifer in Bezdin, because the kfir has to be in Bezdin, so then chayav and akol achas v'achas, they're going to be chayiv on each shvuah. Let's say hishbiya alein chamisha pamim b'fnei Bezdin v'kafru. Let's say the shvuah and the kfira was in front of Bezdin. Then now you're only going to be chayiv ein chayaven ela achas. You're only chayiv once. Reb Shimon explains, Matam hoyel ve'ini yicholim lachzer lahaydus. And over here, the reason is because since their first shvuah was in Bezdin, so as soon as they say bebezdin that we don't know an edus, that itself is a haggadah, and they can't be chayzer in that. So that's the only haggadah that there is, and that's the only shvuas edus that you could be chayiv on. So it's dafka in the previous case in the Mishnah. When you say chayiv al kol achas v'achas, dafka if the shvuah was outside Bezdin and the kfira was in Bezdin, then you could be chayiv al kol achas v'achas. And this is learned out from a pasuk that you could be chayiv al kol achas v'achas because the pasuk says v'hoya ki yeshem la'achas me'ela la'achas with the Gemara Darshans is l'chayiv al kol achas v'achas. The Mishnah Daled kafru shneim ka'achas, shnein chayavin. If both of the Eidim say that we don't know Eidus at the same time, then they could both be chayav. However, if one says, I don't know Eidus, so now if the other one afterwards says, I don't know Eidus, he's not a chayav shvuas Eidus anymore, because b'shas he said, I don't know Eidus, it was already batla their Eidus. It's only 2 Eidim. B'shas I said my Eidus, I was roy to be an aid, and I say Ein Onu Yodim, then you could be chayiv a Shvuas Eidus. So the first one could be chayiv, but the sheni is pater. So what's the case of kafru shneim bebas achas? The Gemara asks for yef shel tzamtzim. Didn't one of them do it before the other? So the Gemara says either we're going like Rabbi Yosef that says ef shel tzamtzim, or the Gemara says that we're talking about that it was teich kedei dibur, and teich kedei dibur is kedibur dami, that we look at it like they are together, and therefore they could both be chayiv a Shvuas Eidus. Mishnah says, Kafar echad v'hoida echad. If one of them says that I don't know Eidus, and after the other one is moida, so this is a kolshkim from what we just said. HaKofer chayiv, the kofer is chayiv, and the one that moida is obviously not chayiv. So the Gemara asks that this is pasha. We just said, even if they're both kofer, if it's zacher said, then the second one's going to become pater, and only the first one's going to be chayiv. So if it was kafar echad first, and then hoida Echad afterwards, and it's pasha that the first one that was kaifer b'shas he said edus, he did a kfir. The other one wasn't even kaifer b'chal, so it's pasha that he's going to be chayiv a shvuas ha'edus. So the Gemara says that the case is that they were both kaifer b'bas achas, and then after one of them was chayzer teichidei diber to say, to say he was moida that he does know the edus. And the chiddush is that the one that stuck with his kfira, that he's going to be chayiv a shvuas ha'edus. The last case in the mission is hayishtei kitei edim. There were 4 people altogether, 2 sets of 2 edim. So kafra rishayna v'acher kach kafra shniya. The first one was kaifer, first 2, and then afterwards the second 2 were kaifer. Shneim chayabis. Both groups are going to be chayiv because each one was royal say edus b'shas that they were kaifer in their edus. The Gemara asks a question over here: why is the first one chayiv? The hakaima shniya, like Rashi explains that b'shas the first 2 said edus, even if they say they don't know edus, they're not being mafsed anything, because you still have the second pair of edim which are potential edim, and they could go ahead and say edus. And the chiv shvuas edus, apparently from this kasha, is dafka if they were be causing a hesed by them not saying edus. So the Gemara answers that Enochanami, we're talking about a case that b'shas the first one said edus, the second ones were not able to say edus because they were craving with their b'nishayseim. And you're going to ask me, so then it's pashat. So then avada they archive and then they weren't carrying a loss. So Gemara said, I would think that maybe you say that since the case is there was nishayseim and geisesais, so maybe say that they were roiv geisin lemisa, and therefore it's as if they died already. So maybe the first kat would be pater because the second kat is right to say edus on the tzad that their wives would die. On that kamash malan that right now they didn't die, and therefore the second kat right now is kravim and they're not able to say edus, and therefore the first kat was causing a loss, and therefore by them saying that they're not going to be made, they're chayiv shvuas edus.